The Ascent of Mount Carmel by St. John of the Cross. Chapter 14, wherein is expounded the second line of the stanza, kindled in love with yearnings. Now that we have expounded the first line of the stanza, on a dark night, which treats of the night of sense, explaining what this night of sense is and why it is called night, and now that we have likewise described the order and manner which are to be followed for a soul to enter therein actively, the next thing to be treated in due sequence is its properties and effects, which are wonderful, and are described in the next lines of the stanza aforementioned, upon which I will briefly touch for the sake of expounding the said lines, as I promised in the prologue. And I will then pass on at once to the second book, treating of the other part of this night, which is the spiritual. The soul, then, says that kindled in love with yearnings, it passed through this dark night of sense, and came out from there to the union of the beloved. For in order to conquer all the desires, and to deny itself the pleasures which it has in everything, and for which its love and affection are wont to enkindle the will, that it may enjoy them, it would need to experience another and greater enkindling by an other and a better love, which is that of its spouse, to the end that, having its pleasure set upon him, and deriving from him its strength, it should have the courage and constancy to deny itself all other things with ease. And in order to conquer the strength of the desires of sense, it would need not only to have love for its spouse, but also to be enkindled by love, and to have yearnings. For it comes to pass, and so it is, that with such yearnings of desire, the sensual nature is moved and attracted towards sensual things, so that, if the spiritual part be not enkindled with other and greater yearnings for that which is spiritual, it will be unable to throw off the yoke of nature, or to enter this night of sense. Neither will it have courage to remain in darkness as to all things, depriving itself of desire for them all. And the nature and all the varieties of these yearnings of love, which souls experience in the early stages of this road to union, and the diligent means and contrivances which they employ in order to leave their house, which is self-will, during the night of the mortification of their senses, and how easy and even sweet and delectable these yearnings for the spouse make all the trials and perils of this night to appear to them, this is not the place to describe. Neither is such description possible, for it is better to know and meditate upon these things than to write of them. And so we shall pass on to expound the remaining lines in the next chapter. Chapter 15, wherein are expounded the remaining lines of the aforementioned stanza. O happy chance! I went forth without being observed, my house being now at rest. These lines take as a metaphor the miserable estate of captivity, a man's deliverance from which, when none of the jailers hinder his release, he considers a happy chance. For the soul, on account of original sin, is truly, as it were, a captive in this mortal body, subject to the passions and desires of nature, from bondage and subjection to which it considers its having gone forth without being observed as a happy chance, having gone forth, that is, without being impeded or engulfed by any of them. For to this end the soul profited by going forth on a dark night, that is, in the privation of all pleasures and mortification of all desires, after the manner whereof we have spoken. And by its house being now at rest is meant the sensual part, which is the house of all the desires, and now at rest, because they have all been overcome and lulled to sleep. For until the desires are lulled to sleep through the mortification of the sensual nature, and until at last the sensual nature itself is at rest from them, so that they make not war upon the spirit, the soul goes not forth to true liberty and to the fruition of union with its beloved. End of chapter 15. End of the first book.